with all of today's business news. And it's time to take a look at what's grabbing the headlines in the international press. Florence Vilmino joins me now in the studio. Hi, Flo. A lot of focus on a shake-up in Italian politics.
That's right. Let's take a look at the front page of the Huffington Post, the French version, which sums up the situation quite well. They call it Commedia dell'arte, how the young mayor of Florence, Matteo Renzi, pushed Prime Minister Enrico Letta to step down. Now, as you can imagine, it's also the hot topic in the Italian press. La Repubblica explains the situation, la situazione, and it says that, well, really, the Democrats here have avoided a bloodbath with this staffetta. That's what the Italian media has dubbed it, the relay. Now, La Stampa, in its editorial, says that this is really an unexpected political transition, and it likens it to actually a clash between two speeds, and says that Renzi, he really has got it right, because Letta seems slow and old-fashioned, while Renzi seems more in tune with the deep mood in society. This speed and his democratic action really speaks to the belly of the country, according to La Stampa, and it gives satisfaction to those who believe that the main enemy to deal with is the status quo.
Well, that's quite surprising, because some foreign papers aren't actually that excited about this change in Italian politics.
That's right. Let's take a look at the Wall Street Journal today. First of all, it's on the front page, and it points out that the Italian Prime Minister has resigned after mutiny. So there's that word mutiny in there. And in its editorial, the Wall Street Journal says, yet another Italian government. Enrico Letta joins a long line of post-war prime ministers who couldn't serve out their mandate. And the Wall Street Journal points out that in one sense, this is Italian politics returning to normal, because ever since Berlusconi's center-right government collapsed in 2011, Italy has really been governed by technocrats, and the Wall Street Journal says that it would be better if Italy returned to politics according to the will of the voters. Now, a lot of the foreign media is also trying to get their heads around just who this Matteo Renzi guy is. There's several profiles out there. I pulled one out from Le Figaro that calls him a Tony Blair-styled Florentine who's in a rush. And Le Figaro takes a look at his surprising rise to power just 2 months after he was elected the leader of the Democratic Party. Here he is pushing Letta out. His relaxed attitude, though, is very appealing to Italian voters. And for many people, he represents change and hope that Italy desperately needs, according to Le Figaro.
All right, let's move on to another big story, and that is Afghanistan.
That's right. The International New York Times today takes a closer look at the release of 65 prisoners yesterday from Basram prison. Now, this was after a decision from the Afghan judiciary, but this article points out that the American military had really been lobbying against their release because, according to the U.S., these are dangerous insurgents with blood on their hands. And this article points out that this is a signal, a sign of just how clearly the government of President Hamid Karzai has broken with the American military. I also pulled out an article from the Daily Beast, which says that legalized spousal abuse is coming to Afghanistan. Now, this article takes a closer look at a bill which has already slipped through the two houses of parliament that would ban the relatives of accused child abusers, rapists, and murderers from being questioned and testifying in court. And this article points out that women's rights advocates are terrified that this signals a return to a Taliban-like Afghanistan.
All right, let's move on to a totally different story now, a bit of sports, and we're going to do a bit of a flashback because you've pulled out some old pictures from the very first Olympic Games.
That's right. These are great photos. You should head to Slate today to check them out. These are from the first Olympic Games that were held in Chamonix in 1924. Check out these guys. Aren't they flashy? So their costumes are a lot less aerodynamic, but I must say they're quite classy. Check out these curlers, for instance.
All right, talking about curling, which you'll find a very amusing sport. A lot of papers are talking about that sport today.
That's right. The Daily Beast says this is a really weird sport, but it tells you just why this is going to become your favorite Olympic sport, why you're going to become obsessed with it. And meanwhile, the International New York Times focuses on the fact that it really is a sport, and it takes a closer look at the inside world of the trainers for Olympic curling teams, because yes, even curlers can pull a muscle.
And finally, the Washington Post takes a look at a pair of curlers who might have a bit of a difficult Valentine's Day.
That's right. Now, Xu Xiaoming is the third stone thrower for China's unbeaten men curling team, and he's married to a woman named Kim Jin-soon, who's the skip of that's the captain of the female curling team for South Korea. Now, they were married in May. This is their first Valentine's, but it might be a little complicated because today South Korea's women's team is going to play against China's women's team. Now, the problem is that Xu Xiaoming, well, according to him, country comes before love, because he gave an interview saying that he was going to be cheering for China and rooting against
betraying his wife.
But what's even worse is that his wife in another interview said that if she were faced with the same dilemma, she would be rooting for her husband and not for South Korea.
Oh, no.
According to this article in the Washington Post, it looks like someone might be spending Valentine's night on a couch somewhere in the Olympic Village.
It just goes to show that women are indeed loyal to their husbands. All right, Flo, thank you very much for that. That was Florence Villeminot with today's International Press Review. We're going to have a short break now, but don't go away because Focus is coming up. We'll meet with Mexican families who have lost their loved ones kidnapped by drug cartels. They tell France 24 that even when a ransom is paid, victims usually get killed. And what's more, police officers themselves are often complicit in these crimes. Do stay tuned to France 24.